Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Thanks for joining in today. So, today I wanted to talk about what's happening in Niger. Some time ago, a report came out stating this. Check it out. So, as you can see, it clearly says Niger court scraps immunity of deposed President Bazoum. So, for those who don't know much about Mohamed Bazoum, basically he's a former teacher turned politician. He made history in 2021 by becoming Niger's president through the first peaceful transfer of power since the country's independence in 1960. His tenure was marked by strong democratic values and cooperation with Western nations like France and the United States to combat terrorism in the Sahel region, which is the area below the Sahara Desert. However, in July 2023, his presidency was ended by the coup that took place. Bazoum and his family have since been under house arrest, accused of high treason and undermining national security. The military government claims he sought Western intervention by communicating with the French President Emmanuel Macron and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken during the period of the coup. Recently, Niger's top court, established by the military government, lifted Bazoum's immunity, paving the way for his prosecution. This decision has sparked international concern, with organizations such as the Human Rights Watch highlighting significant irregularities in the legal process and violations of Bazoum's rights. So some of these irregularities they pointed out is the fact that his lawyers have not been able to speak with Bazoum since last year in October. So this obviously stops him from being able to build up a strong case in his own defense. Clearly, it seems like this has been intentionally done this way, because the report also points out the other fact that Bazoum has not been allowed to present information in his own defense. So to me, wrong or right, it seems like they're obviously coming after this guy. They're coming after him to persecute him for obviously the way he managed the country, and the coup would not have happened if the military branch were happy with the way he was running the country. So they're obviously doing all they can to block his own ability to defend himself in court. But obviously, one might also argue that how legitimate is this court case going to be if they're not allowing him to have a say and defend himself, and most importantly, be in contact with his own lawyer so that they can build a defense. Nevertheless, this seems like it's going to actually go through and happen. They are going to persecute this guy for what they call as being high treason for the country. And for those of you who weren't paying attention when this coup happened, so some of the key things why this coup took place was the fact that the military branch was not happy with the national security and how Bazoum had been managing that. So, for example, the country had invited Western countries like the United States and France to come in and help him tackle the issue of ISIS and Al-Qaeda operating within their territory. And over many years, there hadn't been a long-lasting solution to that problem. So it obviously made them question how useful are these people? Are they really useful to our cause or not? Because it can also make you start thinking about conspiracies as to why they were there and why were they struggling to take care of the issue of these terrorists that were operating in their country. The other issue was, the typical thing that happens with African leaders, which is, most of them are accused of essentially corruption. And the military division obviously felt like he was just as corrupt as many other presidents around Africa. And the people in Niger were very, very poor. So as you can imagine, all that discontent led to that whole coup happening. So when we talk about the economy of Niger at the time and the corruption that was taking place, so one key thing that was a thorn in their backside is the fact that, Niger has a lot of mineral wealth, just like many other African countries. Niger, in case you didn't know, is one of the world's top producers of uranium, a critical resource for nuclear energy and weapons. The country's uranium mining has long been dominated by foreign companies, particularly French companies like Orano. So it's quite clear that foreign control was a big issue for the military over there. Despite the wealth generated from uranium mining, a significant portion of the profits had been taken by foreign companies, particularly the French companies. This led to widespread resentment amongst the people of the country, who felt that they were not benefiting from their own natural resource, which is a very valid thing to be angry about, and which is one of the most important reasons why he ended up being kicked out of government via the coup, and why the current military government wants to persecute him to the full extent of their laws right now. And so I'm surprised as to why it took him so long to go down this path of trying to persecute him for essentially exploiting the country and their people. Now, I guess the big question is, how far are they willing to persecute the guy, right? Are they wanting to sentence him to a life imprisonment sentence or something worse? So that's one big question I have in my mind right now, is how far they're planning on going with his prosecution. So I'll be paying close attention to this case. I'm curious to see how it progresses and how far they are willing to go with persecuting him for what they call as being high treason for the country. So I'd like to know what your thoughts about this case. Do you think they're in the right for wanting to persecute the guy even after the coup has already taken place and the military government is now in control of the country? Do you think they're right to be doing this or not? Please drop your comments below. Let's get talking about this topic. It's quite interesting because it might set a precedent for how other countries around Africa might want to pursue other corrupt people within their own countries. So let's get talking in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this topic, please subscribe. I'd love to see you again on the next video. Until then.